Have you ever looked at headache or migraine trigger lists and felt your head spin? What I share with you today will bring order to the chaos. Those overwhelming number of triggers can be grouped into a few categories. And by the end of this, you'll have clearer insight into what bothers you. In my last video on exercise-induced allergies, we learned about cofactors. Cofactors are things like exercise, heat, or hormones that amplify allergic reactions. They can turn a food that you tolerate fine on a normal day into a trigger when combined. Other factors introduced were sleep, stress, and weather and temperature extremes, among others. Understanding cofactors explained so much about my exercise reactions and my seemingly random mystery reactions. It also made me realize cofactors might be behind why there are so many reported migraine triggers. Now that we briefly reviewed cofactors, let's take a second look at common migraine triggers. Commonly mentioned triggers include skipping meals, sleep, hormone, weather and temperature changes, sounds, lights, smells, plane travel, stress, even good stress, and overexercising. Food triggers included chocolate, alcohol, caffeine, citrus, figs, raisins, papayas, avocados, red plums, overripe bananas, beans, raw garlic, onion, olives, anything pickled, fermented, or cured, cheese, fresh yeast, nuts, and seeds. At first glance, this list seems impossibly random. But look what happens when we group them. The non-food triggers often mentioned, minus the ones that are likely to be the earliest symptoms and not actually trigger, like skipping meals, sound and light sensitivity, are the ones that might be purely sensory issues, sounds, light, smell, and plane travel, as we talked about in my previous video on migraines. And that leaves us with sleep changes, hormone changes, weather and temperature changes, stress, both good, bad, and letdown, and overexercising. Is it just me getting a sense of déjà vu? These are all cofactors that we talked about. For me, exercise and hormonal changes were a clear contributing factor, and likely because of this, while boys can suffer from migraine, puberty and beyond, it is more common in women. Migraine episodes typically do not occur during the second and third trimesters of pregnancy or following menopause. At least one thing to look forward to with aging. Migraines are incredibly complex, and there are many who devote lifetimes of study on this. And there's so much we don't know or understand about them. And there are probably multiple different pathways for migraine. My speculation would be that yes, some are due to chemical intolerance, such as to tyramine or other biogenic amines, and for some, they may be the main symptom of mast cell activation syndrome. Some could even purely come from sensory issues from a highly sensitive nervous system. But I'd wager that the majority of migraines fall under the umbrella of atypical allergies. I'd guess some 90% of sufferers might be hidden allergies to foods based on earlier studies. But if you have allergies, how could you not know about it? In this case, migraines are likely a subclinical allergy that only reveals itself when there are other augmenting factors, such as exercise, heat, cold, and menstrual period, etc. I introduced a stacking blocks metaphor in the previous cofactor video, where allergy by itself may not reach the reaction threshold, but combined with one or more cofactors, it reaches the threshold, causing a reaction. I think I can improve on the metaphor by saying that the subclinical allergy is like the floor that cofactors can be stacked on to reach the reaction threshold. But without that floor, cofactors by themselves don't provoke the reaction. Remember that study where 93% of kids with migraines got better on a hypoallergenic diet? They noted that in most of the patients in whom migraine was provoked by non-specific factors, such as blows to the head, exercise, and flashing lights, this provocation no longer occurred while they were on the diet. What they are describing is food-dependent cofactor-induced migraine. As someone putting together all this stuff about atypical allergies, that paper from 1983 was extremely prescient in more ways than one. So we've figured out the non-food triggers. They're either sensory issues or cofactors. But what about that massive food list? All of them fall into two big groups with considerable overlap: high in food chemicals and potential food allergens. So from the lens of chemical intolerance, chocolate, caffeine, alcohol, but also the less obvious things that are high in tyramine or histamine, like again chocolate, citrus, avocados, overripe bananas, and anything pickled, fermented, or cured. And from the lens of hidden allergies, potentially all of them, frankly, since you can be allergic to any food. But some of the more common categories are like mold, yeast, dairy, seeds, grains, nuts, and beans. And you could have hidden allergies or chemical intolerances, or both. When we put all of this together, both non-food and food triggers, all migraine triggers fall into just three types: chemical, sensory, hidden allergy, plus cofactors. Excluding earlier symptoms like skipping meals and light and sound sensitivity, since they aren't actually triggers, although they often appear on trigger lists because they're hard to distinguish from true triggers. So let's take a moment to look at them all, grouped into these categories visually. There's a large overlap between potential allergens and chemicals. And alcohol in chemical is also a known cofactor. Smell and sensory could be a direct chemical response too, as in multiple chemical sensitivity. Figuring out that migraine triggers can be sorted into just three types helped me understand and manage my headaches and migraines, as I've experienced triggers from all three categories. But for me at least, the worst were the ones from allergy plus cofactors. Those were migraines for sure. Severe throbbing pain accompanied by not being able to tolerate any light or sounds. I also get headaches from sensory issues and suspected tyramine, but they are milder with a more gradual onset and probably not a migraine. Since eliminating all my allergens, I'm migraine-free. I might occasionally get mild headaches, usually around my period, but nothing compared to the past. I had just one recent incident, a suspected allergic migraine, after trying a multigrain gluten-free bread I'd been avoiding for years. A rapid, moderate to severe headache confirmed that yes, I do have a problem with certain seeds and grains. If you experience migraines with seemingly random triggers, see if these categories make sense for you. Is it sensory, chemicals, or hidden allergies with certain combinations of cofactors pushing you over the edge? Let me know what type your triggers fall into. The type could point you towards what to investigate further, and share with anyone who might be helped with this info. And here are the two videos on migraines and cofactors that I referenced today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next.